the hood. This is the hood part that I'm holding, and then this is one side, and the other side we're on. It's almost finished. So I hope in this live we will be completing this. I think so we can, but let's see what we can do. Let's begin. Let's play something in the background first.
Whereas other forms of exercise tend to be very specific. Cycling is cycling, swimming is swimming. I can use weights to build stamina in almost unlimited.
General everyday stamina, you're going to get real good results by just increasing your rep count, as you mentioned earlier, and going through periods of training with that type of muscle endurance in your workouts. However, the distinguishing difference there, and the fact is, if I'm working on a skill of swimming or running, that's specific. Yeah, and so it's not going to translate completely to that. That's where you would venture out. But in terms of everyday overall strength, stamina, and endurance, you get plenty of that.
Today's program giveaway is MAPS Powerlift. If you want to win, leave a comment below this video. The first 24 hours we drop it. Subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications. If you win, we'll let you know in the comment section. We also have a sale. The Shredded Summer Bundle and the Bikini Bundle of programs are both 50% off. Head over to mapsfitnessproducts.com and then use the code June50 for that discount. Back to the show.
I was going to say the same thing, just in another word, right? If you were doing that, if you were doing cardio for the health benefits of cardio,
that come from stamina.
Yeah, that comes from stamina. Then you're better off doing it through weights. If you have something very specific, like I want to be a good runner, well then
you have to
that's different. Yeah. If I want to be a good swimmer, if you have a very specific endurance sport that you want to be good at, then of course doing that sport trumps weights for that all day long. But if you say things like, hey, I do cardio because my doctor says it's a good way for endurance, stamina, and health, you can obtain that type of health and stamina as good, if not better, through weights. If you were looking for something specific, well then that's a different story.
The other category, again, we go off on the side where I'm like, okay, well then keep running and swimming. Is you're like, well, it's not that I necessarily want to be good at those things, but I enjoy it the most. Go for it.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
But the point of this is, if you really wanted to pick one form of exercise for every physical attribute and health benefits, could you do just weights? Yes. Not only could you just do it, but you could do it in an effective way.
Yes.
Here's the most controversial point, and I have data to support this. But the most controversial point is that you could use just weights for flexibility.
Didn't a new study just come out on that?
Another one came out, yeah. That you could use just weights for flexibility, and you'll get better results than you would from stretching.
Right.
From weights. Now, people are
crazy.
What are you talking about? I've never seen a bodybuilder with better flexibility than a yoga, practitioner or whatever. It depends how you do it. It all depends on how you do it. Now, here's why. First, let's talk about flexibility, and then let's talk about mobility. So flexibility is the ability of a muscle to stretch or elongate. Okay, so you go down to touch your toes, you barely touch your toes. You want to get more flexible, that would allow you to put your hands on the floor.
You could passively get into
getting further, right. But mobility is flexibility plus strength. In other words, having a range of motion is great, but if there's no strength in that range of motion, that's injury land.
Yep,
that is the greatest. That's the greatest risk for injury. The greatest risk of injury is high flexibility, low strength. If you look at the data, it's like a 2-year-old. Mm-hmm. They're unstable, but you can bend them however you want. You put load on that person, and they're going to hurt themselves. Now, strength training, if you perform it for flexibility purposes or mobility purposes, well, looks different. You're challenging ranges of motion. You're using a weight that is far less than what you would use for traditional muscle building or strength building. And you use a wide variety of movements because you don't want to get strong in just one direction. You want to get strong in multiple directions, which provides the kind of stability you need to prevent injury. this is the best way to get flexible because you get that range of motion, but you're now strong in that range of motion. And this is what the best coaches know. They know this. It requires a little bit more diligence, but if you want to compare head to head, I mean, this will crush traditional flexibility.
I like this one, and I find it one of the more interesting ones because I don't know anybody personally who, even though this is what the research says, has actually approached their flexibility program with this intent, right?
Like, he was trying to do
Juju Mufu as well, but
yeah, Juju would be a good example.
Yeah, both of them. So
Did Saya do it that way?
Yeah, so he was saying how he wanted to get the splits.
Yeah.
So he's doing it with resistance. And he was staying in that elongated range of motion.
Yeah, adding weight.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Adding weight.
Yeah, not a lot of people do that.
No, because they don't know.
Yeah, but that is the better route to do it. But yet you just don't hear about a lot of people who are like, hey, I'm working on my flexibility. I'm doing it through strength training. Like, that's my. And by the way, you made a point to start that, like, you know, because people use the argument that I don't know a bodybuilder that's more flexible than any sort of yogi or whatever. Although bodybuilders does flexibility to be the most flexible, they do it to stay flexible. Their goal is to build the most optimal muscle. It's not in their best interest. They get up on stage and they have smaller muscles, but they're more flexible than the other guy. They don't win. So they're still approaching it from a hypertrophy standpoint. But if they actually took that type of discipline that they put towards building muscle strength and put it towards flexibility, they would be every bit
and
as
maintain
flexible.
a crazy physique. You could, you could definitely do that. And I think that's one of the rare examples right away. Is Juju Mufu. You're like, how could somebody with that much muscle mass get into these positions and also be dynamic and flexible? Well, really, it's just about the fact that you've been working on the strength in these end ranges.
That's right.
And so, you know, a lot of times it's good to work on that first intrinsically. So we talk about kin stretch or ways to like increase tension within these poses. So you support that position, but then you stress test that position. You add load, and so you can actually.
Hi, Corbs. I'm a little late today because of I was not feeling well. But I'm really glad to see you in my life. It's not past your bedtime. How are you still awake? The knot is too big. I don't understand. How big is it? Usually when I'm working with this line, for example, if a knot comes here, so I just cut from both the sides and then I join with a very small knot, a very, like, you can say it's invisible almost. I don't know what knot you're talking about. I hope it's not that big. Are you currently working with that line?
glad you said that, Justin, because I don't want somebody to hear this and go like, okay, cool, I'm gonna get into this deep splits and then hold 50-pound dumbbells or something crazy. Like,
You need to
This has to be a gradual process.
Very gradual.
and so what the regression to that looks like is kin stretch, which if you're not familiar with kin stretch, it's taking yourself to those in ranges of motion to where like you go into a very deep stretch position and then you
Then you
try.
try to flex that.
Yeah,
muscle.
then you create isometrics in that position. And you hear Justin talk about it all the time where when you do that, you gain 20% both directions of strength, right? So that's how you start to build strength there. And then over time, you can progress it with weight. You don't just go straight into a deep stretch position and grab a bunch of weight and think that's a good
That's how you
strategy.
get hurt.
Yeah.
Now, there's two caveats. One is in the higher ranges or in the more extreme cases, muscle mass itself can become certain types of mobility. When you got huge back, squeeze your shoulder blades back or whatever. So, like if you just got big muscles, they can make mobility a bit more challenging just because they can get in the way. But that requires a lot of muscle. Here's a second caveat. You can strength train in a way that'll actually reduce mobility. What does that look like? Well, I get really strong in certain ranges of motion and in certain planes of movement, and I don't strengthen other ranges of motion and other planes of movement. Now what
Stay
happens,
fixed in those windows.
my body limits my range of motion because it's like, you're so strong moving in this direction that if you move in this other direction where the ratio of strength is so out of whack, you're gonna hurt yourself. And so you start to appear to be tighter. And this is why people think strength training makes you tight. Because when you look at a bodybuilder who trains in these short ranges of motion and really only cares about developing muscle, they start to move around and look tight precisely because their body is like, we're going to keep you confined to what you train.
Which I love you making this point because now it's more clear to the listener why you hear us when we talk about like there's studies and research to support doing things like partials for building muscle, but we tend to not advocate for it for that simple reason. It's because for the simple reason that if somebody takes that too far and they do all these partials because you can still build muscle in partials, what you end up doing is you get really strong in the short range motion, and then that
Become
hinders.
unstable.
Yeah, that hinders flexibility and mobility. And since most people are looking for overall strength, want to build muscle, but then also are not trying to put themselves in a position where they're more injury prone after lifting weights than before, is the reason why we don't advocate for that much.
All right, next, this is where I think, and I strongly believe, we have a lot of data and studies that support this, but it's not a mainstream message yet, but I do believe it will become a mainstream message. That when it comes to hormone optimization, natural hormone optimization, strength training is in a completely different universe. Completely different universe. Now, to be clear, all forms of exercise, if applied appropriately, will improve your health. Improving your health generally does improve your hormone profile. Getting healthier, in other words, just getting healthier is great for your hormone profile. Okay, but that being said, strength affects hormone health through a couple different ways or multiple. Improving insulin sensitivity, so that's number one. So when you lift weights, your muscles, which are a storage container for glycogen, become hypersensitive to insulin, which is great. So you want insulin sensitivity, right? If you have poor insulin sensitivity, you're much more likely to have things like PCOS. You're much more likely to have estrogen imbalances with progesterone. Growth hormone doesn't start becoming effective. You get mitochondrial dysfunction. Like, it's really important to have insulin sensitivity. Strength training is the best for this. Like, you build muscle, you can store more glycogen, and muscle is very insulin sensitive. And we see it immediately post-strength training, and we also see this improving over time with strength training better than other forms of exercise. Then the second is, when you build muscle, your body increases androgen receptors. So these are the receptors that testosterone attaches to. So whatever amount of testosterone you have, if you double the amount of receptors you have for that testosterone, you essentially have twice as much testosterone. It's that much more effective.
Usable.
And this is important for men and women. For women, testosterone is just as important as it is for men. We just have different ratios. So when you increase receptors, which happens immediately when you start lifting weights, like this is one of the first effects, your testosterone becomes more effective. So you've essentially made yourself insulin sensitive. Testosterone is like having more testosterone. We also see data that supports that strength training may actually directly raise testosterone as well. And then we see balancing of hormones like cortisol and growth hormone receptors start to upregulate as well. So it starts to push you more towards this optimized hormone profile in ways that other forms of exercise don't come close to.
I love to see the movement in this that we've seen in the last just 5 years, even 5-10 years. I mean, how many female doctors now have we had on the show that promote strength training?
That's the primary form of exercise.
And and just go back, say 15-20 years when we were training, it's like you didn't hear that at all. Not at all. And so it's really cool.
So impactful
to see all of these female doctors that come on here, and that has now become like a foundation to all their protocols. It's like, oh yeah, no, I get my ladies lifting weights right away, and so I feel like we've known that for men for so long because it's so closely connected to testosterone, and so that's always been something that's been talked about, or for a long time it's been talked about for like men's hormone health or testosterone in general, but for female optimization, I don't think have heard about it as much as you've heard about it in the last 5 years.
Now, you know, I figured this out was as a, I would say probably 10 years in my career, I had my wellness studio. At that point, I started making relationships with some forward-thinking hormone specialists and functional medicine practitioners. So this was 15 years plus ago, maybe almost 20 years ago, and probably 15 years ago. And at the time, it was hard to find functional medicine practitioners, and it was hard to find hormone specialists that were really forward-thinking. Luckily, my studio was in the middle of Silicon Valley, so we tend to get the best of the best for certain things. So I found some, and I started working with them, and they were blown away by the results that my patients got from a hormone perspective by training with me and working out and working with them. And they would ask me, what are you doing with them? Like, hormones or, and I'm like, we're lifting weights. Well, how often? Once a week. What do you mean? Oh yeah, like, and they started to show that when they got stronger, the hormones started to improve, and the results in terms of the hormonal effects started to improve. This is when I started piecing this together for the first time.
By the way, though, and I'm glad you went that direction, because this can also be bad for you hormonally if not applied appropriately. Because I'm sure there's somebody who's listening right now who's like, the opposite was true for me. I started training 7 days a week.
Overtraining, you're screwed.
And then the opposite happens. So if you have poor sleep and your intensity is through the roof and you're low calorie because you're trying to diet, and then strength training looks like, oh God, it's not helping my hormones at all. It's the opposite, but it's because of how you apply it. This, again, another reason why you hear us advocate for 1 to 3 days a week and moderate intensity and two reps short of failure because of things just like this. Because applied incorrectly, and it can have adverse effects. Applied correctly, it can have profound effects.
Yeah, and two, like just one more added kind of benefit, obviously, like with female clients, I notice this a lot, and you've mentioned this quite a few times, of like, avoiding osteoporosis and like bone health and integrity and strength. The most impactful version of that is lifting weights versus all other forms. It just doesn't even touch it.
If you put it, it's like building muscle and strength, you might as well say building bone.
Yeah, building bone, ligaments, it's all there.
Nothing will build your bone but strength.
Or how many times have we already on this podcast given a woman the advice to increase her calories, go build muscle, and she regains her period?
Yeah.
I mean, countless times we've seen that on live callers, and of course we've experienced that.
I have two clients that got pregnant just for doing that.
Right.
Literally, they came to me and they were having fertility issues. That wasn't our goal. Again, I was a younger trainer, so I'm not touching that. But you have to eat more and you got to build some muscle, and boom,
It's all part of the process.
two clients. Finally, this is an easy point to make. Aesthetics. Aesthetics are subjective, but generally speaking, there is a general idea of what looks good, what doesn't look good. Name one form of exercise that allows you to pick parts of your body to develop.
None.
In shape.
None.
Yeah, you can't do that with other forms of exercise.
Only one.
Yeah.
This to me is, I mean, of course,
This is a good selling point.
it is. This is mostly what you present as a trainer. I mean, yes, there's some people who look for general health. Yes, some people just want performance and strength, but most people come in because unfortunately, they come in, they finally get there because they're unhappy with how they look, and nothing will reshape, sculpt the body like lifting weights. There is no form, no other modality out there that even comes close to what you can do with strength training. To that point where you can be that specific, where someone can come in and say, hey, I wish I had a little bit broader shoulders, but a smaller waist, but a big butt. Like, you can literally ask
You
for
can do that.
Yeah, and then you can go, cool, let's get to work. Like, we can literally build a routine around those specific goals to obtain those specific goals. That's incredible. There's nothing else you can do that.
And in some cases, you can even change the way a muscle looks. And I say in some cases it has to be the big ones, but you can literally be like, I want more upper chest, or I want more outer butt, or I want the middle of my butt. Like, you can actually do that.
You can spot build. You can't spot reduce. You can spot build, so you can actually work on defining muscles and specific muscles. But losing, you got to lose overall fat.
Yeah,
That's just something we always have to say.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Do you want to improve your squat without injuries? You want to have a stronger squat? You want to have a deeper squat? We have a free How to Squat Like a Pro guide. It's totally free, and you can get it right now. In it, we describe details, exercises, techniques, and ways you can improve your squat so that you start to squat like a pro. You can get it for free right now if you click on the link in the description below. I want to talk about a peptide stack that now I'm seeing people are. Do you guys remember a while ago when I said that thymosin beta plus BTC 157?
Wolverine stack.
Yes. So we know people have talked about this stack as being a great stack for recovery and healing. Fact, who knows, right? You combine those two, and this is anecdote, but these are the people that we talk to who go through our partners at nphormones.com. This is my own. Injury healing is like 40% faster. In some cases, even it's actually kind of wild. If you have, like, when I tore my hamstring, that combination, I'm actually cautious working out because I'm like, I feel like I'm totally healed. But this is way too fast. That would only have taken me 4 months. It took me 30 days, and I feel like I'm back to normal. So we already know that. But you guys remember me talking about how when I'm on that combo, I'm just leaner. I just get leaner, and I feel like it's
I
like
remember you
almost like
saying
muscle
that.
building.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a mechanism. So I saw Jay Campbell list that combo as one of his top 5 fat-burning peptide stacks.
Interesting.
So he listed, now of course above that was like the growth hormone releasing ones and the
He's not saying it's the best, but he's
one of the top 5. It's one of the top 5, and it's not traditionally known as a fat-burning stack.
So, just your body performs better.
Well, one of them tamps down inflammation. The other one regenerates tissue. So maybe it's because I'm assuming that's coupled with lifting weights.
Yeah.
Because if you couple it with lifting weights, then it should theoretically accelerate the muscle
Just the
recovery
recovery turnover.
Yeah, it should accelerate the recovery process, and if it does that, then it should speed up the metabolism, which in turn should provide fat. That would be the mechanism I would
Yeah,
guess.
so that's what I would guess too, right? Because as a kind of a secondary side effect. But actually, in the data, they both increase growth hormone receptors. So your body has more receptors, muscles in particular, but also connective tissue, to growth hormone. So now your growth hormone becomes more growth hormone. Just like I said with the androgen receptor density earlier. Now, whatever growth hormone you produce, it's like almost like you're taking growth hormone because you have more receptors.
Interesting.
And so that's probably because it's like what you said, Adam. I'm like, is it that?
Right.
But it's more than that. It had to be because I would be on both of them. Like, it just makes me look different.
So is there any benefits in Sal than taking something like what's called a testosterone with
Oh
coupled?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Oh yeah. You go to growth
So like a
hormone.
Wolverine stack
It'd be like a
with
fat burning stack.
stacks with growth hormone.
You know what you'll get with that? When healing, that's like ridiculous, right? Growth hormone goes up, plus those 2 peptides, which also accelerate healing.
Well, you had me do that, right? Now I was taking. I actually have growth hormone, right? So I was taking that with that stack for my injury, and I remember you saying that I should take the testosterone or what's the other one I always forget the name?
Oh,
Was it like
Benson?
I beat him. Yeah, I beat him more. And I mean, I healed fast. I healed so fast.
It's almost
It's scary fast.
It is.
So I think that's important to note that.
It is. You almost like you feel like, is this real?
Yeah, you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful because of how fast you heal. I think that's the one caveat to it is that okay, you're gonna get better sooner, but you still should slowly progress.
Yes.
And you have a tendency to want to.
I have a theory around that. Well, if you're healed, you're healed. I don't think your central nervous system heals as quickly as your body can with those peptides. So I think the recruitment patterns are still a little off. They take time in getting back to old weight, even if you feel like you're.
Well, would there also be a lag on the ligament and tendons with the muscle repair? I would think the muscle will repair faster, and then the ligament and tendons.
That's typically how it is. So maybe that's the case. Although BPC speeds up the healing of tendons and ligaments.
And I definitely
slow muscle healing.
after we started working with Transcend and doing stuff like this, obviously I've never really been into the peptide world until us recently, right? You're more into that stuff than any of us. But I'm a sport nut, and I 100% believe now that, like, my buddies and I, long before I even knew what a peptide was, like, how the hell is that possible?
Yeah,
Oh, exactly.
How did they come back within 3 months?
Yeah, it's like shorter, like
years.
6 week tears
Yeah.
an ACL. He's out 6 weeks. He's back on the field. Like, and
Yeah.
these guys aren't like just healed.
They're playing professional sports.
They're out cutting like
Yeah.
and doing things that don't even make like that might would just rip my tendons and ligaments off
Right.
naturally, like without even being injured, right?
You would
So
be confident, like
it just
hard
doesn't
cutting
it doesn't math for it never math for me where it does now. Now I'm like, oh, okay, these guys have had access to this for way
And
longer.
they're using all of it.
Oh yeah, and hyperbaric chambers, accelerating it up, like they're doing.
Come on, dude. If you're a franchise, how much do
Yeah,
they
you're
worth?
valuable.
Bro,
You're
asset.
worth hundreds of millions of
Yeah,
dollars.
like how much do they pay one of the top basketball players?
40, 50 million
So
dollars.
you're looking at them like a $50 million investment, and so you're like, you're going to get Thymosin Alpha-Beta, you're going to get BPC, we're going to put red light on you, you're going to get the best strength and conditioning correctional exercise.
And
You're going to sleep.
and they have a guy dedicated to them that so it's so serious that when an athlete now gets hurt, they don't even see their teammates. They're like their full time is to recover. Yeah, it's like they have a very strict schedule of all the things that they do, and I just think that the general pop doesn't get to hear the peptide stacking hormonal stuff that's going on behind the scenes. They get to hear the other stuff. Like, oh yeah, he does cold plunging and he does this. Kind of like the basic level, but they're also like taking they have to be. It just now it makes sense to me. It never made sense when we talk about those injuries. Like this is, and I get they're genetic anomalies. I get that they're freaks of nature with their bodies, like, but that still doesn't like make sense. But now it does. Like, oh, these stacks or what these guys they've probably had it for over a decade, maybe longer.
Oh, longer, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
How did you know what the history is?
Oh, I've been around for a long time.
Yeah,
I know.
like the 60s.
Yeah, dude.
No.
Yeah, we've identified some of these peptides.
Like BBC 157 since like the 60s? No way.
We identified it a long time ago. I don't know about the 60s, but it was longer than like 5 years ago. It was a
Yeah.
long time ago.
I thought I remember seeing
1993.
93?
When we isolated it. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So fine.
And like we barely started talking.
Yeah,
about
so
it.
fine. 10 years later, they have it now in injectable form. That's 2003. That's still 20 plus years ago.
Yeah, I mean, late 90s, you're taking me back to high school. That's when I'm having these conversations. High school, college, and after, as my buddies and I are having these sports debates.
Yeah,
like,
you don't think that these, billion-dollar.
I mean, you know what we used to think back then, because steroids was the only thing that we knew that was
Yeah,
like
that it was just that.
totally.
That's old science.
That was exactly what we all thought. We all thought like they're all beating the steroid test. They're all taking steroids, and steroids is taking care of all of it. It's like shit. They're doing a lot more than just that,
Yeah.
probably.
I mean, to be clear, that definitely helps. But it's like anabolic steroid and growth hormone, like tech, or like we've had that forever.
Yeah.
Like athletes have been using it. We've known what they do. In fact, if you go through the plethora of anabolic steroids, most of them were invented in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I don't think they came up with too many new ones afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, I gotta tell you guys about a park incident with my kids. I took them to that park that's I take my kids over there, and we're throwing rocks because I love doing that. The kids love doing it, throwing rocks. And there's this little boy on the other side of the creek, and I start hearing him yell, "Don't throw rocks!" He must have told my dad, whatever. But I'm like, whatever. He's bars on the other side of the creek. My kids aren't gonna, they're barely throwing in front of them, so we're just having fun. The kid starts to cross the creek, right? Now it's not high; it only comes up to like your shin. So he starts crossing over, and I see his dad in the back, and he's holding a baby. So he gives his wife the baby and follows his kid. So this kid comes over, and I'm like, all right, we're just gonna all play together. And as soon as the dad sees me, he goes, hey man, he's got atomic energy. My son's got atomic energy. I
Oh,
said,
he just
"Okay."
straight told you?
Yeah, I said, okay.
Atomic
energy. And then, by the way, the guy was a fan of the show. So he's like, hey, your name's Sal, right? Yeah, he's like, oh, I love your show, whatever. Bro, this kid was, I can tell you stories of my nephew, where he's just on fire all the time.
Yeah.
That was this kid. So they were throwing rocks, but this kid kept trying to throw rocks in the direction of my kids.
Oh God.
Kept trying to splash him. And this poor dad, he was like trying to be, you could tell he's a good dad. You could tell he's really involved. He's trying to be calm, redirect his kid. This kid's Also, watching him, like,
That's gotta make you feel good about yours. You're like, because sometimes your kids can feel like they have that kind of energy. You see a kid that's got way more.
well, some boys are just like that. It's all
I don't know how many decreases I have made, but the progress is quite a lot. I think we have many more decreases to do. I think I love increasing more than I do the decreasing part, because in increasing I have to go like I have to knit front and then I have to knit back in the same stitch. So I think that's more fascinating to me. I was listening to a podcast, but then I thought, no, that's just way more chaotic, and I wanted something peaceful. So I hope my hands are visible to you now, because the camera angle that I had before was not helping. That was very far away from the stitches that I was making. By the way, if someone has tried garter stitch or has tried making this hood, which is called the Sufi hood, do share with me your insights, because I will be happy to hear. It's really awkward, like getting up early on a Sunday and to do something. Obviously, I love doing the knitting and the crochet, but sometimes you just want to lay in bed and just relax. Even if you don't sleep, you just want to lay in bed longer than you do on a daily basis. Hello everyone joining in right now. I really hope when I knit or crochet in the live sessions, um, if you crochet or you do handcraft things, you can just grab them and do them while you're watching my live, because it just feels like we are sitting at the same time and we're doing things that we love. So that's something in my mind. So all of you have tried crochet or knitting before, or you do it actively even now? I have a question from you guys. So, what is something that pops up in your head when someone asks uh, that you can ask them anything? I'm curious because there are a lot of things that pop up in someone's head when you're asked this question. So, tell me, what is it that pops in your head when someone asks you, ask me anything that you want? What is the first thing that you will be asking them? share your thoughts on this question. Guys, have you subscribed to my channel? If you haven't, please subscribe and do give me a like on this live and watch my other content as well. I love to make content, and there is some content that I have put on my YouTube channel. I think you will be enjoying that. So this is my second Sophie hood. The first one I made was actually not so pretty, and it was short, and it was really messy. So the stitch that is involved in making this Sophie hood was the garter stitch, and I love making that. So I decided to make another one, which is this one, obviously, because I loved the stitch, and the other thing was the first one that I made was a mess, so I wanted to make it a good one. So here's to that. I think I'm in love with this stitch so much that I want to make it again and again and again. Or maybe I will make something of this stitch and maybe something else and not the Sophie hood. I mean, like, my hands just know that this stitch has to be only the knit stitches, no, and not the purl stitches. That's really great. So here's in Pakistan, there are no crochet or knitting cafes, and not even like I don't know why people don't think much on this, like handcraft things, so that they can make the cafes or anything or any place where all the crocheters can sit and spend some time together and maybe knit something or crochet something together. Whereas I have seen many cafes abroad, and like I see many videos of the crocheters and I've seen stuff. So I really hope that one day here in Pakistan that is also possible. But unfortunately now, and nothing is there. I hardly know crocheters in Pakistan. I think there are two less, but with the awareness, or I wouldn't say awareness, with this emerging talent like crochet and knitting, more and more young generation is coming forward, and I think that's a good point. When there will be crocheters, obviously there will be something done for them, like the cafes or something like that. But when the people are not there, what would the cafes do, right? Last night, my family was here with me, and I had an iftar party arranged for them, and we had had a great time together. And then when I showed this to my mother, this Sophie hood to my mother, she was really amazed. And by the way, she's amazed even by the way I hold the yarn and like do it differently than she used to do. She used to do the English knitting, English style knitting. So she sees new things and she really admires them. And she was really appreciating what I'm making. I have shown her the cardigan that I was making, which was in pink. And yeah, everyone really appreciated that. Sometimes, not sometimes, but most of the times, I think I'm not doing enough in this Ramadan. Like every year Ramadan comes and I think that I have to do more good stuff and do more of the prayers and like all of the stuff. And whenever the Ramadan arrives, I I don't know what happens, but I am not so active in the Ramadan. I am too lazy making the suhoor and the iftars, and then in between I have to nap and sleep, all sorts of things this short time. Today is the 11th Ramadan already, which is quite fast. in the blink of an eye, you don't even realize that the month of Ramadan is over. So that's really saddening. Okay. So then, eighth row we decrease. So this is the row where we are gonna decrease. So keep a close watch so you can see how I decrease. Okay. So first I will be knitting 2 stitches and slipping off the third one. Let's start. Knit 1, knit 2. Now slipping this stitch and knit the fourth. Now picking this stitch up and dropping it off the needle. So this is how one stitch is dropped, and now this is a decrease. So this is what we are going to do every 8th row. This is the 8th row and we decreased in this row. The rest of the row we will be knitting, and at the end, when we reach the end, we will be only slipping the last 3 stitches. With time, when we drop stitches every 8th row, the number of stitches will be getting really less, and even now the number of stitches are not so much. So that's something I really like. That tells me that this project is coming to completion, and that's really like good to hear, good to even imagine. Wow, there's an ice cream man in the middle of my life, and not to mention in the middle of Ramadan. I mean, who would buy an ice cream at this time? So we're almost at the end of this row. Guys, do give it a thumbs up if you like my live. I would really appreciate. And you liking my live will get my live across other people, and that would help me getting more views. So be kind enough to give me likes. Thank you in advance. So now we will not be making it to the 9th row. We will reset, and now row 1. after we finish this row 1, I will be looking at this Sophie hood from afar, because I think I have to see every now and then to check if the length is good enough or not, or am I doing right number of decreases. Because this side of the Sophie hood should match the other side. It shouldn't be like one side has a different kind of thickness and the other side has a different thickness. So I have to make sure that both the sides remain the same. I'm thinking of posting a tutorial video on granny squares. So I will be making something out of granny squares, but I'm not sure what I will be making. But this much I've decided that I'm going to make a tutorial on the granny stitch, and we will make something out of it. If you want any particular tutorials on my channel, you can also tell me that, and one by one we can see how we make that. Okay, so I have done the row 1. Now when I'll start again, that will be the row 2. Now I have to check if both the sides are coming along. So this is the back of the hood, and this is the 2 side. Yes, these are of the same length. This is what I wanted to see. End to end, these are aligned, thank God. Because the last hood that I was not of the same thickness and length and all sorts of measurements. So this is very important to me that I see every now and then. So I don't have to go back and just frog another row to make it right. Fortunately, I never have to frog a layer, thankfully, but I'm scared of the time when I have to. But the last I made the Sophie hood, I did not frog anything, I just went with it, because I have heard it somewhere that whatever you do for the first time, you have to finish it to the end. Because if it's your first time, it matters more that you finish it rather than you perfect it. So I decided to finish that Sophie hood rather than to make it to perfection. So for now, I'm really happy that I don't have to frog anything. But with crochet, I frog a lot of times, and I know how to handle the crochet frog, but not the knitting frog. You do know what frogging is, right? I hope you do. Okay, let me tell you. Frogging is when you realize that you have made a row wrong and you have to make it correct. So you have to frog that one row. So you just take it out of your needles and you have to pull the thread so one of the row is what I would say is gone. Yeah, it will be gone. So that's how the frogging works. I don't know how the frogging works in knitting, but I do know how it works in crochet. But I hope that I have to never do it in both of them, in crochet and in knitting. So guys, what do you do on a Sunday morning? Is it because it's Sunday and that's why the viewers and the likes count is so low? It just clicked in my mind. Maybe even I should rest on Sundays. Is it like that, guys? If it is like this, I think probably from next Sunday I will be resting and sleeping. Because I think of all the days, Sunday is the one day that you can actually relax and just reboot and like Sunday helps you relax if there are no guests, obviously, on a Sunday. So let's see how this live goes and we can decide later if I have to be here on the live on Sundays or I can just skip the Sundays. It's not like I don't like making the content on Sundays. I love making content every day. Like if I have to or even if I don't have to, I just love to make content on everyday basis. But if there is no person watching me making that content, especially in the lives, then I think I should take a day off as well. Guys, do you like watching the vlogs? Vlogs of like any creator? Because I'm thinking of making my very own vlogs. I just want to. I have no thought behind it, like how to do it or when to do it. But I just want to do it. I just want to give it a try. I think I'm just gonna make this 8-row pattern this time and then I will have to rest my hands. And maybe I'll do the rest of it off camera in the evening, maybe, or maybe in tomorrow's live. I'll try to be on time in the next live at 9 a.m. sharp of Pakistan time. So today was not the very best day because I was not feeling well and I just wanted to sleep in. But I am not used to sleeping at this time of the day, so I got up. this is the 7th row of this round, and as you all know, on the 8th row we will be decreasing when we start the row. So this is the 8th row where we're going to decrease, and by decreasing I mean we have to drop a stitch. That way a decrease will be made. So how we do the decrease, let me show you again. Knit 2 stitches, 1, 2, slip the third one like this, and knit the 4th one. And now pick this 3rd stitch up and drop it off like this. So this is a decrease. Now we will have to make the knit stitches all the way across till the end to complete this decreasing row. Now we have the last 3 stitches. We will just slide them off like this. 1, 2, and 3. So this is our decrease row. Let's check. Yes, it's coming along quite good. So we have still this much to make of this side. That we will do in the next live. If you're new here, subscribe to my channel so you get notified every time I go live, and that is every morning at 9 a.m. sharp in Pakistan. So you would have to watch for the Pakistan time at 9 a.m. and do subscribe, do share, and like if you really love the live session. So for now, it's time to say goodbye, and let's connect and see you tomorrow. Bye.